Wait a minute. Hear this.
Birdy num num. Birdy num num. Birdy num num.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Birdy Num Num podcast. I hope you all are having a good week. I am having a wonderful week. We're going to do something different this week on the podcast. Now, normally, as you all know, the tagline for this podcast is your guide to the creative Indian, or how to be creative when you don't feel creative. And part of being creative sometimes is taking a step back and wondering why we do the things that we do and doing things differently. And just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. And so in honor of that sort of theme, this week, I wanted to talk about public transportation with regards to non-motorized transportation and trying to avoid public transportation, because as you all know, it's 2021 and what a year 2020 has been. And you might be asking, why are we talking about this? Well, I lived in Bangalore for 10 years. I know a lot of the listeners here, the biggest population of our listeners are in Bangalore. A lot of the fans of this podcast are IT people. And so I thought, let's get some folks from the IT industry here together to talk about, we always hear about innovation with regards to technology and products, but what about innovating by taking a step back and doing things that we don't do before? So this week, I have four lovely ladies here on the podcast, Vidya, Nizari, Trisha, and Sonal, who will join us shortly. And we're going to talk about cycling. I know a lot of people in the city have been looking at cycles and motorcycles and electric vehicles and those sorts of things. But it's a trend that's been happening quite a bit. I know we have clubs all over. And I wanted to talk to some folks here to just kind of get an understanding of what's going on in that space. What are the challenges? What are the difficulties? What are the benefits? And so let's get straight to it. And starting off, I'm going to start my first question with Vidya Chandran. Vidya, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Sanjay. Nice to be a part of this podcast.
Oh, no.
Thanks for having me over.
Sure. Thanks for coming. Vidya, could you just, for a quick minute, just give a quick background kind of about your story, from your workplace and kind of how you're involved with cycling, and we can take it forward from there?
Sure. Sounds good. So I'm an engineer by training and, spent my bulk of my years working in the IT industry. I was in the US for about 12 years and moved to India in 2011. And I've been in Bangalore since then. When I turned 40 in 2014, there was this urge to do something different, and started with running and did a couple of half marathons and went on to do a triathlon. And during the course of the journey, I realized that I really enjoyed cycling a lot. So I started cycling a lot, just put it that way. So it started I think it's in 2016 that I can say that I actually started riding quite a bit. And since then, it's been a part and parcel of my life, part of fitness. And given how Bangalore traffic is, I just find that I end up commuting to places and reach places faster on the cycle than I would do in car during peak traffic. This is, of course, pre-COVID time. Things have changed since then, and it's traffic is less. But during peak times, like if I had to go from here to South Bangalore, which is like 23 kilometers, I know that I would reach faster on the cycle than I would reach by car. So I just, prefer to be on the two-wheeler unless I have to carry a laptop bag or need to take my children around. If I go to the gym or meet friends, cycling is in the way. So it's become a part and parcel of my life. And I think it's a great way to just, be in touch with reality of how things are outside. But it has come with its challenges. But personally, I think just having done it over a period of time, it's just eased into how I handle my commutes on a daily basis.
Sure. Okay, that sounds good. So if I understood correctly, life kind of took its course. You started working, had kids, then you kind of had a moment to take a breath around your 40th birthday, and did I think what a lot of us do. Most of us, when literally after like the first 5-10 years in the workplace, same thing. I started running. I did half marathons because I was feeling so cooped up that, and I was putting on the weight from all those office meals, And so I started running, and then same thing. I got into cycling, and I had some friends. We would kind of go on those trips. Now, um, taking that point, I want to redirect this question to Nizari. So we kind of heard, from Vidya why she cycles when there's other modes of transportation. Sometimes it can be time saving. Now, Nizari, first, if you could quickly just give a background about yourself and how your journey with cycling.
Hi, Sanjay. So, yeah, I'm a data scientist by profession, and so at least with respect to my cycling journey, when I look back, I've cycled sort of all my life. I mean, I was never without a cycle, but it's just that I always lived in cities smaller than Bangalore, so my rides used to be shorter. And in Bangalore, I feel like they used to be galactic distances, but then I got used to them.
Okay, wonderful. So, she had mentioned that, basically sometimes it was a lot quicker for her to use the bicycle. Now, you being a data scientist, which I find, very cool and very fascinating. And one of the themes that I explore is in this podcast and in a lot of my blogging and stuff in general is the theme of like going slow to go fast. Meaning we in India, I'm sure all of our aunties and uncles, if you say you have to get something from the store, they'll say, no, beta, I can call for it. And they'll call a delivery guy over to bring it. Or if you need, like, they always want to save you time, but why is this time so valuable? Or just because we can do something doesn't mean we should do something. Case in point, like cycling, for example, sometimes on the flip side, it may be quicker to take to take a vehicle or an Uber or whatever. So outside of the time saving thing, what are the other benefits you personally get? Is it more of a spiritual thing? Is it you get time to think? Like, kind of what does cycling do for you beyond just the point A to point B?
So I've never hit a gym in my life. For me, like sports is always like outdoors, and in some ways, it has been my single most source of being fit. So that's one. The other is I do care a lot about environmental sustainability, and like I think this is like the most. Like, we all commute all the time, whether it is to a grocery store or workplace or restaurant or meeting a friend or a coffee shop, wherever. And a lot of times these distances are not too big to not cycle. And so I feel that if we just look at our grocery store trips throughout our lifetime, they might amount to a couple thousand kilometers, which could have easily been done by cycle. And we still try and choose like fossil fuel burning, which could have easily been avoided. So I would say definitely personal fitness, environmental sustainability, and also like it just feels more active after a ride, right? Like, so rather if you are just throttling, and just sitting for an hour in the traffic, you feel tired. But if you have cycled through the same distance, at the end of it, you feel more active. So that active metabolism gives you a nicer feeling. So I think there are a bunch of reasons.
Do you sometimes feel like if you're cycling past a bunch of motorcycle guys stuck in traffic, but you're going faster, do you look at them like, what have you guys like?
Obviously, not just two-wheelers, especially car guys, and especially those big car guys, like taking an SUV and one person sitting, and I just try and make sure I'm in front of them and just giving them a thumbs down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think.
So
yeah.
there's some big shot IT vice president in his Innova with his driver, and he's sitting in his traffic for 2 more hours, and you're just like, have fun, buddy. Yeah. This is innovation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So especially at the traffic signals, I think cars need like 2 to 3 signals to get through if they are like really behind the queue. But in a cycle, it'll like need you just a signal, because you can maneuver through car spaces, like which we call car canals. So you can just take your cycle around it.
Okay, wonderful. And Trisha, I want to redirect a question or building on the questions of our previous 2 guests. So what first, if you could give a background about yourself, but then if you could take it into kind of being in Bangalore, being in India, we know some of the benefits of cycling and why people choose to cycle. Not only if you could let us know kind of your experience with that, of why you specifically like to do it, but also have you had any experiences in Bangalore per se with regards to do you worry about where do you park your cycle? Are you worried about it getting stolen? Those sorts of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I do very much worry about where I park my cycle, because there are just not that many places that you could park your cycle. But I'll get to that. So, hi everyone, I'm Trisha. I was a bit of a late bloomer. I learned how to cycle only when I was in like sixth, seventh grade. Unlike, all the kids who like, are cycling as their toddlers. So since then, I haven't left the cycle. It's been by my side all throughout, just like Nancy said. What really, really, ignited a passion in me was college. So when I was in college, I kind of shift my cycle from home to my college because I wanted to, commute inside college, close by places. So did that, and my college was right next to the beach, and there was a small tarred road right next to the beach, stretching about, I would say 30-40 kilometers. And in the evenings, while the sun was setting, when you cycled across that part, it was beautiful. So that was like, it's something that you could do with a group of friends, really relaxing at the end of your college day. So, really passionate about cycling ever since then. And I work really close to my house where I stay. And I realized that the fastest way to get to work and get back from work was cycling, like without a doubt, because there was just too much traffic pre-COVID time. It was impossible. And I'm not even kidding. Sometimes, if I tried to take a cab or an auto, I was stuck in traffic for an hour or two, and it would just take 20 minutes on the cycle. So why wouldn't I choose that? Coming to, yeah, like I am very apprehensive about where I park my cycle because I recently went ahead and purchased a little expensive high-end cycle because I thought, okay, I really enjoy doing this. I'm going to spend some money on it. So I took it to a nearby mall. It's very close by. And I told them, okay, so where do I park my cycle? What do I do? So he said, okay, you can just park it with the two-wheelers. So I went ahead, tried to park it with the two-wheelers, and there's just no space. And if you park your cycle in between two-wheelers, it's almost lost. Like there's a huge hulk of a motorcycle on either side, and you have a small cycle in between. It could damage your cycle. And I actually spent 15 minutes trying to look for my cycle. I thought, oh my God, it's stolen. And then I found it parked in between. And it's an easy fix. I mean, the malls could just have, these kind of bars with some fancy designs on it where you can just latch on your cycle with the chain. So that's an easy fix that they could do to encourage more people cycling to public places like malls, even metro stations.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, so I mean, we have a lot of startup guys listening to this. So if anybody wants to start raise the bar by building these bars in the malls and things, go ahead. So wonderful. So kind of the common theme I'm hearing is everyone here kind of cycles partly out of necessity, but partly out of other benefits, and then personal goals and those sorts of things. So in India specifically, cycling has a very unique set of challenges. Bangalore, of course, has even more sets of challenges because, it's. I always find Yeah, I mean, there's potholes. There's the traffic. Obviously, there's all of us. I feel technology has made things so much easier for us because we don't mind the traffic because we have our laptops and our smartphones. So earlier you would be upset that there was traffic because you would get home and your boss is waiting for that email, but now you can do it. So you kind of deal with the traffic a little bit more because you do it from your phone or whatever. But aside from that, I want to shift gears a little bit with regards to being on the road. Being a woman, public transportation sometimes, have you all had, I'm sure each one of your friends would have said like, oh my God, or your family or your mothers or fathers would have said you're cycling late at night or you're not behind the protection of a vehicle, or it's not safe or whatever. So maybe we can go counterclockwise now. So I'll let Trisha start again. Have you had any bad experiences? I want to hear from each of you on this because I think this is an important point.
It's been not so bad, I would say, with public transport because in Bangalore, I feel the buses and the connect of the public transport system is pretty good, and they're pretty safe. You see a lot of women on the buses apart from you, so that kind of builds a bit of confidence in yourself as well. Like, hey, I can do it too, or there's so many other people here. With regard to cycling, I feel I wouldn't say that I face like some, any direct kind of harassment on the road, but I feel a lot of two-wheelers on scooters and motorbikes tend to kind of take you for granted. So they whiz past you or they get too close unnecessarily while trying to overtake you. And that kind of creates like a very hostile kind of environment when you're trying to cycle back home. So cars, not so much. I guess they can't do much when they're stuck in traffic. But two-wheelers, yeah, I feel they're a bit more aggressive when they're driving.
Got it. Okay, that's fair. And I would argue I've probably been guilty of that too. You know, if I see if I'm driving or if I'm on heck, even if I'm on a bicycle, yet I see somebody running, then potentially there's this weird unwritten social contract where I have to go faster, basically. So, Nizari, how about you?
I did use the buses before I bought my cycle in Bangalore. But the only thing with the buses was like I had to change two buses, so it like eventually the time taken would be like twice that would be needed for. So I would say that more than anything, buses just tend to be slower because of they are just stuck much more in the traffic. With respect to cycling, I would say that not I haven't had thankfully any accidents in like my 4 years of commute in Bangalore. But yes, at least in monsoon the potholes are filled with water, so you don't see them, and due to that I had a fall once, and it just generally it is not pleasant, and like people keep splashing water on you, and so I would say that monsoon evening rides are the worst because like it's just you can't see the potholes and you end up getting like surprises that you don't expect.
And how about you, Vidya?
So a lot of these problems that I find the cyclists face, I do think that they are gender neutral. So some of the things is like we tend to leave for a ride earlier in the morning. So we leave at 5:30, 5:45. I find that not having street lights to be a big problem because, just having a very well lit road just psychologically makes you feel safer. It might not necessarily prevent something from happening but just having that street light on the road till at least daylight comes in is one of the factors that goes a long way in just mentally building the confidence to get out. In terms of harassment, yes, I do think that what Trisha says is true to quite an extent. I think you're just way down in the chain of, mode of transport commute. And they do have a tendency to come a little closer. I personally have not had any bad incident to actually narrate, but I do run a cycling club, an all-women cycling club called Spokeswomen, and we are about 225 women strong in Bangalore alone. And we have from 19-year-olds to like 55-year-olds plus. So, there's a gamut of experiences that I have been exposed to by virtue of just being a part of the club. And there have been, there are a decent number of incidents like two-wheeler guys coming too close. And, when you're on a cycle and someone comes and just honks really fast, it just throws you off the balance, right? A couple of them have had a fall because of such incidents. And people trying to now grab cell phones, which has become just been on the rise since COVID times, is that they try to snatch your phones out of your pockets and things like that. But some of these incidents, as I say, are gender neutral because guys have reported incidents like this. From a safety perspective, I think many of them tend to avoid going out very early in the mornings or very later at night when, especially in smaller lanes, when you're on the highway by virtue of having all the traffic, etc. There's a sense of security that someone happens, there are people around. But if you're on a lone road, some of these things are really mental things, and you do realize that once you ride around for a bit, a lot of these things are taken care of on their own. So I'm sure Trisha, Nizari will agree that fear actually goes away over a period of time. I'm sure that when you start riding, that it's inbuilt in a lot of us.
Yeah.
And while the danger itself doesn't go away, how you deal with it, that experience kind of helps overcome a lot of these things because, we don't have control over our infrastructure or how people actually treat you. What you can change is how you deal with those circumstances and how people treat you on the road. And as you switch that, you find that you're able to deal with a lot of these things automatically over a period of time.
Yeah, and that's a great
That's my personal experience.
Yeah, that's a great point that you mentioned, specifically about, eventually, like, for example, when I was thinking about doing stand-up comedy, I thought about it for so long. And then once I did it, and then I was doing it. And it wasn't like, I think oftentimes in today's world, somebody wants to start cycling or take a new opportunity up or acting or, make a startup. They will read all the blogs, watch all the videos, but they'll kind of just think about it for a year. And for me, when I was trying to train for the marathon or trying to do marathons, I would look at all the Nike running groups and look at what are the best shoes and all that stuff. And then one day I just woke up at 5 in the morning and I went running and I was like, oh crap, I just ran, like, and so like you're saying, with people, they kind of build up this thing in their head, but then you're cycling and you're doing it now, and now you're a cyclist, and
Right. And one other thing that I find a common thing that comes as a recurring theme in people who start cycling is because it's also mechanical. If you have a puncture, like that fear that okay, if I'm riding in the middle of the road and I have a puncture, how do I deal with it? That I find as a big roadblock that many women specifically, I think, ask. So that is something that needs to, one just learns how to do it. There is no quick fix solution to that. There is no, one-stop point that can say that you do this and this will take care of your problems. That's something that you build over a period of time. You start fixing your own functions over a period of time and gain the confidence. But that, I think, is a recurring thing that I keep hearing that prevents a lot of new riders from getting out, like beach puncture
yeah, exactly. No, that's a good point. And just curious, as a normal puncture shop, are they able to fix a bicycle, or is it only for motorcycles?
No, they fix it. It's just that depends on where you are, right? If in the middle of a highway,
Obviously, yeah.
outer ring road, inner ring road, your cycle shop is a couple of kilometers away.
Yeah.
What if you don't find an auto? What if the auto is there but won't stop? There's so many things. It's like real life scenarios, right? So there's no, as I said, there's no quick answer for that.
So when
you learn to deal with that.
So if you have a puncture and then you call the auto, he's like, well, look who needs me now, sort of thing. Okay. Exactly. I knew you'd be back. Yeah. So, fair enough. And Sonal, we didn't forget about you. Hi, how are you?
Yeah, hi, I'm Sonal Verma, my full name. And firstly, I'm deeply sorry. I'm so late.
No, you get a pass because you were cycling. So that's perfect. Yeah, it lines up perfectly with the theme of the show. Yeah.
Thank you all. And as you know, my name is Sonal and I'm 33 years old and I'm working as a neurotechnologist in a pediatric hospital.
Wow.
That's just much.
Okay, so you're a healthcare professional then, and you can you give us a background? You don't gotta tell us about your whole life or everything, although we'd love to hear it. I'm saying, but with regards to like your job and how you got into cycling, I've kind of heard from everyone. I just want to know what's your story with why you choose to cycle and what it does for you.
Honestly, like when the lockdown started, we started working on April onwards. Okay, so I have to go back to my work. I have to go to clinic and seeing my patients. Then I thought like, what should I do? There was no transport. I cannot get auto or anything, and I don't know driving, so I don't have license, anything. So I thought of contacting these people. You might heard of Yulu.
What is Yulu?
Yeah, Yulu is kind of our, what do you say,
like ride share
transportation.
Oh.
Sorry.
E-bikes and ride share. They have like cycles and small electric scooters.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can like rent it out like.
Oh yes, those things that you stand on, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That time those were not available, so I contacted them and they had delivered bicycle on rent. So what the hell? Start. So it's like 5 kilometers right now, like with my second job. So there I have to be 5 kilometers. Then I started doing that. And initially it was quite tough and I was loving it because roads were so empty. Wow, this is really nice. I can learn so many things. So I started doing it. And since April onwards, then I skipped in between. And then after 2 months, I bought my own cycle. So I started doing my regular work where I'm going 9 to 5. There, it's around 11 kilometer. So that's how I bought it actually. Just I mean, it's the lockdown made me to do it. There was no other choice, so I had to do it.
But
And
that's if you're gonna, as difficult as a time as it's been, this COVID and everything, in a weird way, there are some positives that have come out of it,
yes,
which is, of course, number one, all of us are spending more time at home with our friends and family. Although I don't know if that's a good thing for everyone, but at the same time, out of necessity, people are cooking more. They are, managing their, metaphorically, they're making their bed and taking care of their lives more. And in your case, because, thank you for, working in that industry, you had to do it out of necessity, and now you like it. Clearly, it seems like
yeah, I love it actually. I love it. So I think it's my life now, lifestyle it is. So I can't live without cycling now.
Okay, so what is cycling? Because I understand the benefits of exercise and saving time, or sometimes even, but for me, why I cycle, it's more recreational. It's more like going for a walk. If I'm really struggling with a problem at my office, or I have a very difficult moment with my partner or whatever, I like to kind of go out and think. Even if I am going to my office from point A to point B, I find that doing those activities, even doing the dishes, for example, just things that I could, either put in a machine or have somebody else do or take a card to, I find it that these experiences sometimes help me in ways I can't really say are tangible. Have you noticed any unseen benefits from cycling? Like, has your personality changed a little bit? Do you find problem solving? Is there anything, or is it just you just like it?
My coordination is really good. My intellectual, I feel like it's good. It's getting better. I can think much
Did you
easier.
know how to? Did you know how to balance before? Did you know how to ride a bike before?
No.
Oh,
I learned it during lockdown. I learned it. I
okay.
had to. So,
And
but
Vidya,
luckily, I never fall.
okay,
Luckily, I never
Vidya,
fell. So yeah.
do your children know how to ride a bicycle? Like, have you taught them?
My daughter?
Do your children
Yes,
know how to
yes,
ride?
they both ride. Yeah. They learn when they were 5.
Oh, with like the training wheels and those
Yeah,
things, right?
they,
Okay. And
yeah, they started training wheels at 3, and by 5 they were both riding without training wheels.
and Sonal, you learned as an adult, but I feel that's more scary because as an
Uh,
adult, if you hurt your
It
leg,
is.
I'm more freaked out, right?
yeah, it was quite challenging. I was scared. Then I was like, let's do it. Let's see what happens. If I fall, I'll get up again. I'll do it again. It's not a big deal. Everyone can ride. And then I saw a few YouTube videos though
Yeah,
before starting, but it helped me a lot, and I did it.
yeah. And then YouTube
Then
will show
then I
you,
was like,
yeah,
yeah.
five
Then I
worst accidents or something like that, right? Or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, and like then I thought like if I can do, anybody can do it, and yeah, it's true. Somehow it is true.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, lastly, we're kind of coming on the tail end here, but with regards to public transportation, I think one nice thing that I've heard from everyone is the common thing you hear in all of these talks and interviews is, is it difficult being a woman doing this and all that, and I know some of that is there, but the overarching theme I'm hearing is yes, you have to be safe and cautious, but if you want to cycle and if you're determined to, then it's 100% doable and possible in Bangalore. Is that correct?
That's yeah, yep,
Yeah, yeah. So, what one final question I want to ask is obviously the larger theme of where this is going is public transportation, and we want Bangalore to find that balance, and any major city find that balance between how it's changing and how we can live harmoniously in it. And what is Vidya? We can start with you. In a perfect world, in the perfect utopia, in 2030 or whatever it might be, what is the perfect vision for you in Bangalore? Is it like, what do you see with regards to public transportation and infrastructure?
So, we are hoping for the perfect world. I would very much like something as we have already existing in Netherlands. We know that it's possible. So there is a model already already built there, and it's been enforced. We of course are dealing with a much larger population, and we come with our own sets of challenges, etc. But each of our modes of transport have their place in society. So we need to take Bangalore back to it being a city of lakes and parks to start with, so that people are out, getting out. And the government is already trying to start building cycling lanes. Hopefully, it will, get enforced, and people will start respecting those lanes and allow cyclists to actually ride on the cycling lanes. And to streamline how transport is handled in terms of adhering to traffic lanes, obeying the rules, having clear cut demarcations between the various modes of transport. So that I think is very close to what we can hope would be a perfect Bangalore. Hopefully by 2030, if that's possible. But sure, I would take that.
Wonderful. And Nizari, how about you? You are the data scientist. So what are the metrics and the perfect ideal end state that we're aiming for?
Yeah, so I would say that at least the last mile connectivity could be by non-motorized transport, right? Like, I mean, even if everyone doesn't do long distance riding, at least for last mile connectivity, if we don't do that with fossil fuels and do it, then that helps in so many ways, right? So, and I would say that we sometimes run into not having a dedicated cycling infrastructure because there are not enough cyclists to give that. So we need more cyclists to like show that we need more infrastructure around them. So I think in some ways we will have to address the problem from multiple sides. The other thing is, when I was doing my master's in Germany, I used to commute between two cities, and there was a possibility of taking your cycle onto the train. So I would go from my home to the train station, put my cycle in the train, and then again get down from the train station and go to my lab. So I would say that I used to commute like 80 kilometers, like cities that were 80 kilometers apart, with doing this last mile on my cycle, and that was really convenient. I didn't have to relocate to the other city. So I would say that if we could allow having cycles onto metros, and in normal trains, in specific times and in specific ways, which is not like which helps all, then I would say that way there will be some more incentives to people. The other thing would be even workplaces could incentivize, like by giving shower rooms, changing rooms in the places. Sometimes you are after a long ride, you don't have a place to change or like to take a shower, and like I would say that if the workplaces could at least have these small things or motivate people who are actually doing this, that would help. So yeah, I would say doing at least the last mile connectivity on this mode of transport, and having like companies incentivizing their workforce coming by cycle would be nice.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I just realized, yeah, you probably do get a little sweaty, right? If you when
Yes.
if you have a hard commute that day, or it's uphill, or you have to whatever. Yeah, so fair enough. And Trisha, how about yourself? Any kind of last words on what your goals or visions for the future are with regards to this?
Yeah, so once you get over the initial fear of cycling, right, the activity becomes sort of very mindful. So this commute utopia, I think about a lot while I'm cycling to and fro. Yeah, just like Nazri said, last mile connectivity by non-motorized things like Yulu or cycle, and metro stations everywhere, metro connectivity everywhere. I'm hoping that's something that Bangalore can see soon, because and also I feel a lot of areas they should just block entry of like large vehicles or cars, and kind of force people to use a last mile transport system that is more eco-friendly, and it kind of preserves the area as well, because if you have too many cars or big vehicles coming, it causes a lot of damage to the road and the infrastructure. So I think they've done something like that on MG Road. They've cobblestoned parts of the area, so cars can't enter there. So you're forced to walk, and that really, really, gives people a sense of the city, sense of the environment, and it makes sense. Once you're there and once you're shopping or looking around, you don't really need your car, so you'd rather walk or use a cycle. That would be really good.
I think it's Church Street, not MG.
Church Street, yes, yes.
Church Street?
Church
Yeah,
Street,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. Church Street, right?
Yeah. And that's it's a great point, because a lot of studies have shown that human beings, I don't know, I remember reading it but I can't cite where, but that human beings when they're active and when they're exercising and when they're doing things, because we are wired that way, right? Like there was no vehicles 150, 200 years ago. So our bodies evolved to kind of do these things that those kind of get our chemicals. I mean, Sonal, you're the one in the medical field, so maybe you would know better. But yeah, maybe I'm just talking out of my, you know what, so, bicycle seat or whatever.
She's right. When you force people to do something, they do it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
they'll start walking. Yeah.
I think that's a great theme to kind of finish this off. And thank you, everyone, for all the great. It was really good. And I'm glad that everyone brought something unique, and it didn't feel generic at all. It was quite good. And I hope for everybody listening, at least if even 1, 5, or 10 people are inspired to. This is not sponsored by Decathlon by any means, I promise. Yeah, they are not paying us anything. Yeah. So if anybody can please go out there and, cycle around, I think it'll be good. So I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Birdy num num. Birdy num num. Birdy num num.
That's